executive action on a number of issues. Do we know what some of those initial moves will be?
Well, the president-elect is making it clear he wants to get to work right away, and his team has readied roughly a dozen executive actions for him to sign on that very first day. And some of these executive orders will focus on undoing policies of the Trump administration. That includes rescinding that ban on travelers from Muslim-majority countries, as well as rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. That was something that was negotiated during the Obama-Biden administration. There are also other items relating to the pandemic. Biden will be signing an executive action that would mandate masks in federal buildings and interstate travel. But the president-elect is also aware that he cannot do everything through executive action, and there is much that he wants to accomplish through Congress, and that includes that COVID-19 $1.9 trillion stimulus relief package. But one thing that Biden will be battling when he takes office is that he will want to be pushing these items through while that looming Senate impeachment trial is taking place. His advisors have said it's imperative that that trial go and operate on a dual track as legislative business so his agenda can move forward.
Well, that's nice. Appreciate it. We're now on the security picture, the extent to which some threats for people who are threatening the president-elect could be among the National Guard presence there. And breaking news just now coming to light about the insurrection itself. They come from court documents unsealed today in the first significant conspiracy case of what could be many more. Federal prosecutors alleging that 3 members of the so-called Oath Keepers, an extremist militant group, planned and coordinated ahead of the assault. The charging papers quoting messages sent during the siege that appear to indicate the attackers were searching for lawmakers in hopes of making citizens' arrests. It's not the only troubling new development. The bigger story tonight. For the latest, I want to go to CNN Shimon Kokipes, who's been reporting out each new and troubling development. So, Shimon, how confident are officials that they have a full grasp of these alleged plots connected to the insurrection?
Yeah, I think, Anderson, what we're starting to see from court documents that are becoming public as the arrests are being made, that authorities probably have a really good idea about who some of these groups are and who is part of these groups. Because remember, a lot of them were filming this as they were doing this. They were posting it on Parler and Facebook and other social media. So authorities have been really going through all that media. And of course, they've gotten over 200,000 tips at this point. And also, quite frankly, it's some of the stupidity of these people, right? They're not wearing masks. And then they're also identifying themselves. But also a key thing we learned today in terms of the Oath Keepers, they were wearing patches on their paramilitary gear identifying what group they belong to. So that certainly has helped authorities identify them. So that's why I think it's pretty good to say that they have some idea about who many of these people are. Also concerning, of course, here is that the chatter about QAnon conspiracy theorists urging their followers to put on National Guard uniforms. The Washington Post saying that was something that intelligence officials were concerned about. There are layers and layers of security here, so to think that someone could possibly get away with that would be probably difficult, but of course authorities are concerned about. And of course the insider threat, Anderson, that is something that authorities here are concerned about. 12 National Guard troops who were expected to be part of this deployment, they were pulled off of it. The authorities here would not tell us exactly why that is. They said not all of them had extremism views, but out of an abundance of caution, Anderson, they did remove them from the deployment.
And tomorrow, what should people expect to see as dignitaries start moving around Washington in the morning? It's not going to look like anything in past years.
No, it's certainly not going to look like any security event ever in this country, Anderson. And where I'm standing here behind me is it's a checkpoint that tomorrow will be operational, actually not far from Blair House, where Joe Biden is staying. Some blocks further away from us here is the White House and Blair House. This entire area is fenced off. So tomorrow it's going to be even more difficult for people to come through here. Of course, I think even though because of the pandemic, people are told not to come to the inauguration. I think city officials do expect some people to try and come see whatever it is they can. So in light of that, with all this fencing, all the security around us, it's certainly going to be much harder for people to move around the district, Anderson.
Shimon Kokipes, appreciate it. When our next guest played, he was part of the peaceful transition from one administration to the next. No one can imagine the country could be any more divided than to believe that was 20 years ago. Not hard to believe that then Vice President Al Gore would do the right thing in conceding a very close, very hard-fought loss to George W. Bush, which is why his perspective is so important tonight. Mr. Vice President, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
You hear the latest reporting from Washington. You see those images. Could you ever imagine that in this country there would need to be some 25,000 National Guard troops guarding the Capitol on Inauguration Day to protect the new president, not from a foreign terror threat, but from violent insurrectionists led, encouraged, and lied to by the outgoing president?
Well, it's necessary under these extraordinary circumstances, Anderson, but I have to tell you that those images pale in comparison for me to the very deeply emotional images from the reflecting pool with all of those flags and the lights, and I feel the emotion swelling up in me as I'm describing it. All of the 400,000 Americans that we've lost, and Joe Biden has a healing heart.